Um, I think the main thing I want people to know is that it's not just swearing and that we can't help it. We never wished for it. I feel caged enough already in my own body and my own brain, let alone to be laughed at on everything, about everything and anything. There is people who will only watch my videos to get the entertainment out of my tics, and I've had comments like that before. I think to anyone watching the video, never let anyone bring you down, really. Like, never let anyone hurt you.
Welcome back to Boneitch and to the second episode of How We Tic, a series where we meet people with Tourette's from all over the world. If you want to be a part of this series, send me an email. The details will be in the description below as well. In today's episode, we meet Abby. Abby has Tourette's and she has a TikTok channel dedicated to spreading awareness about this disorder. I really enjoyed my conversation with her today and I have so much respect for how open she was talking about her experience with Tourette's and other disorders as well. In this video, we'll also discuss bullying and the effects of that. So please be cautious watching some parts of this video if that's a subject that's difficult for you. All right, let's do this. Okay, yeah, I think I got it. Always a bit fiddly having these like several screens and audio things to record. Hey, so yeah, I'm very happy you wanted to be a part of this project. So glad you emailed me, and let's just have a chat about Tourette's and things related to that. I think that'd be really cool. So maybe you could introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Abby, I'm 16, I'm from Wolverhampton in the UK and I have Tourette syndrome. I also suffer from autism and anxiety and a seizure disorder called non-epileptic attack disorder.
To start with the Tourette's, for you, when did your tics start to develop? When was that?
So I was about 9 and I started having a lot of eye twitching. So I'd constantly blink and raise my eyebrows quite a lot. And we didn't think it was anything. We did think originally it was something to do with my glasses because I wear glasses. So we went to this private opticians rather than Specsavers where I'd usually go. And they reduced the prescription thinking it would help. It didn't really help because we thought, oh, it might take a little bit of adjusting, so we just left it. A few months after that, I started making a lot of noises, like I'd start squealing and everything. And obviously we didn't know anything about it and I'd be constantly told just to shut up. And I was like, I can't help it, I can't stop making the noises. And so we decided, because there wasn't stopping, we booked an appointment with the doctors, and the GP that I went to, she referred me to the Gem Centre, which is a clinic in Wolverhampton. It's like a big place linked to the hospital, I guess, and they referred me there and I immediately got an appointment and went straight through, and then and there, the paediatrician, she diagnosed me with Tourette's and anxiety. So obviously we had no idea what any of it was. So my mum and dad must have done some research and stuff and joined a few Tourette's groups. After that, it was in July of 2015 that happened, and then I started high school not shortly after. So going straight from primary school, not knowing anything about it, straight into a massive environment, high school, thousands of people, knowing nothing about it was terrifying. Because I went in and at that point I was suppressing like mad, and then I'd go home and I'd be really, really bad with all my tics. And there was at one point where I told somebody that I'd got Tourette's, and he went around the entire school, well, most of the people, and then it must have got spread and told people that I'd got Tourette's. And that's when I began to like have the bullying situation. So into year 7, someone began to pick on me, and online cyberbullying everything, and would make new accounts just to get at me when I'd block them. And I'd be sitting in class and all I'd hear was people in the background taking the mick, and it got on my nerves, and it just wouldn't stop. So my mum ended up phoning the school, and then she'd speak to the teachers, and after a while it would stop for about a month and then carry on. And so there was nothing we could do about that, and it was just causing my anxiety to skyrocket. It was going absolutely crazy. And then June 2016, I think it was. Well, anyway, Tourette's Awareness Day. I had my first seizure on the school field in front of everybody in my year group. It was at lunchtime, and I just collapsed and had a seizure on the floor. Everyone started panicking and running to get teachers, and they called an ambulance. They took me into hospital, and they did loads and loads of EEGs and scans and tests and everything. And this went on for a year, maybe 2 years. But then it got to a point where they just said, there's nothing we can do. There's no way that we can diagnose you because we can't find anything, and there's nothing that's showing up. So it got to the point where I'd literally just given up. And in year 8, because the bullying got so bad, I was moved from the school I was at to a medical school where they deal with all variations of people with disabilities and conditions. So I was sent there because that was mainly for the seizures, because my mainstream school couldn't handle it because there was that many every day. So they sent me somewhere where they could handle it. So the bullying stopped then, and I went there. At this school, my seizures reduced a lot, like more than they ever had. And I was still having them every day, but they wasn't as bad. So when that happened, I was fine, and I was in a protective environment, and I'd be taken to my own room and just, I don't know, comforted and everything. And it got to the point in year 9 where they were still going on, and we found out there was a doctor in Birmingham, the city next to mine, in Birmingham Children's Hospital. He's a neurologist, and we went there because he was willing to help us with the whole seizure situation. And he couldn't give me any medication because there was no proof it was linked to epilepsy or anything like that, or nothing to do with signals in my brain. And we went, and he said, come in then, we'll keep you in hospital. And then they couldn't do anything while I was in hospital because they were going to do a range of tests within 1 week where I had to stay in. And one of the tests was a lumbar puncture. And I was like, I'm not having that done. What if I tic? Because I was like, if I tic in the middle of that, you're going to there's going to be a risk with my back, and I don't want to.
They're going to stab you.
I know. And obviously, I was like, I'm not having that done while I'm away.
That's scary enough as is, a needle in your back, but with tics, that's...
Oh, God, yeah. And I was like, I'm not doing it unless you put me to sleep. So they sent me home. After Christmas, I went back and they put me to sleep, and I had an MRI and a lumbar puncture. But because when they put you under anaesthetic, you can't eat or drink for about 12 hours, nothing came back off the lumbar puncture because they couldn't get the fluid out. So obviously, they'd gone in 3 times trying to get anything from different areas, and they just couldn't. So that was just a massive flop. The MRI showed no results, and this just made us question what the hell's wrong with me. And in the end, they diagnosed me with non-epileptic attack disorder. And so we went from there, and they say it's linked to anxiety. So we tried a lot of different things, and we tried medication, one of them being sertraline, and I'm still on that to this day, and it does help quite a bit, but not. It's slowly over the years. I think my body has grown a bit immune to it because it doesn't work as well as it used to. Which, like with people I know off of the Tourette's group that I'm in, it does stop working after a while. And I've tried a lot of different medications for my Tourette's, and one of them was clonidine. Now, this medication made me so ill, like it, not ill, if that makes sense, but I would hear things, I'd see things, I'd have hallucinations at any point in the day. It was a bit like a nightmare, but I was awake, and I'd have them once or twice a day, and I'd just be sitting doing my work, and then it'd sort of go into this forest, and you'd have the forest, and there'd be like this man, and he'd just like, I guess, torture me, and I wouldn't know what was happening. It would just be like a massive blur, and anyone who tried to grab me or anything would be a part of that thing. So it went from there, and I'd just scream and everything, and it was horrible. And my mood, it would swing like mad, and eventually they took me off it, and I was fine. So that was that. And then I also tried aripiprazole, and that worked amazing. Like, that was the best medication I'd ever tried. But the worst side effect was I gained a load of weight off of it. So the aripiprazole, it worked really well for a long time, and then when it got to about a yearish, I gained a lot more weight than I would have done without it. So yeah, that was it. Coping strategies and things that work, counselling. Nothing really worked like that. I have recently started CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, but it's just not. It's helping a little bit. It's giving me ideas, but it's not something I could probably keep going, because I think it's that sort of thing that you need to put your mind to it for it to work. And at this rate, I just haven't had the time due to school and exams and everything. So I've sort of just left it out alone a little bit, because I haven't been able to see my counsellor either due to COVID. And so there's a lot of other things I do. So I do drumming as well. And drumming, I don't tic at all. My tics stop completely, and it's just like I can let all of it out onto the drums. And it's so fun to do. I only started it last year, and I have come quite far with it, and it is just amazing to see how it comes along, like how tics can just stop when you do a certain thing, when you're concentrated. The same thing with baking and cooking. I love to do those as well, and I don't tic with that either, which is amazing, because I'm focused on that. Same if I do swimming, I'm not like concentrating on anything else but the water, and it's so nice to be able to relax and be controlling of your own body for a few hours or even an hour. But I do have my good days and my bad days, and there is days where I can't physically walk sometimes, so I have to use a walking stick. But yeah, I mean, it is. I know I'll probably I think I keep saying I don't know. But yeah, like wax and waning, I do have my good days, like I said, my bad days. Today's a good day because I haven't really ticked that much. But along with the tics, October 2018, I did develop coprolalia, and I remember all of it, and I was sitting in the middle of the canteen in the morning. I'd just gone into school and I shouted out a load of like phrases and swear words and everything. And oh God, the look on everyone's face, because I didn't think that day would ever come, if I'm being truly honest. I thought, oh, I might just have like a Tourette's where I don't say anything vocally and I can keep it sort of on the sly, if that makes sense. But with the coprolalia, I don't really think I've ever been able to learn how to suppress it, really, because I can feel certain tics coming. So for instance, shake tics, I can feel them. It's like a tension that builds up from the bottom and then releases. Like my facial tics, I literally don't even realise they're happening. Noises are sometimes, they're not as common anymore because I do say things. But it's, I think, one of like the main stigma of Tourette's, people always presume Tourette's is just swearing.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I absolutely hate. It just, the whole stigma around Tourette's, oh, if you've got Tourette's, you swear. They don't take into consideration that there's motor tics and every other thing on it, tic-wise. And it does make me upset because the media portrays it as well. I mean, there was that case with Sharon Osbourne a few years ago. I don't know whether you were aware of it. And she said, oh, I might have Tourette's because I swear a lot. I was just like, for God's sake. That really annoyed me. And it is that I do TikTok. So I've got 11,000 followers on TikTok, and I've gained those over the past year because I've been doing awareness videos on Tourette's and autism, anxiety, and just advocating really for disabilities and Tourette's, because it's something I enjoy doing. I do post random videos on there of me just doing me, just being me. I post makeup videos on there as well sometimes, and drumming videos. And you know, I do enjoy doing it. You do get the trolls. I mean, yesterday I was on TikTok and I was scrolling through my comments and I saw this girl and she was saying that I was faking Tourette's and everything. I was like, oh my God, just shut up.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think after the years that I was bullied and told that I was faking it or that I was psychotic and everything, I do just learn to ignore it. I know it's hard because people say, oh, I presume you get used to it now, the whole ticking and everything. But when you think about it, you can't get used to it. It's one of those things that you can't get used to, because you can have those days where you can't do anything but just lie in bed or anything. You literally can't be bothered to get out of bed. And I have the days like that, and I'll sit in bed for hours. And then there's days where I do have breakdowns and I literally just sit there and cry about it. I haven't had one of those days for a while, but it's just when it all builds up on you, you do have that day once in a while where you just break down and cry about it, because you think, why do I have to suffer from this? Everyone around me, my family, is normal. No, literally nobody in the family except me has had Tourette's or anything. I know that there is a case, we have got anxiety that runs in the family, but nothing to do with tics or Tourette's. And my tics only started at puberty, which was like the weirdest thing, because I know a lot of people with Tourette's develop them at a much younger age, and sometimes even as an adult. But my doctor, she'd never seen it. She'd never seen anyone with Tourette's develop it at puberty, at the start of puberty. So that was another thing. But I guess living with it has made me it has given me benefits, I won't lie. I've become a lot more confident in myself. I've been able to speak out more about it. I mean, if I was on this call with you like 3 or 4 years ago, I would not have spoke about anything at all. I mean, if you look back 3 years ago, for instance, if I was in public with my mum and we'd be in the shop, we'd be standing there and she'd just start talking about things, and I was so paranoid. Like if my mum was just speaking to me about the doctors or medication, I'd be like, shut up, people can hear you. Even though it was just me and her in a little corner eating and talking, and there would be no one around, and I'd be like people like 10 meters away, and I'd say, just keep your voice down, shut up, because I don't want people to hear. But to be honest, now when I go out, I don't really try to hide my tics unless absolutely necessary, because I don't think I feel the need to anymore, because at the end of the day it does need to be normalized. It is hard for people around me, and I do feel bad for my family as well, because they've had to deal with it as well. And sometimes I do feel like they get embarrassed of me. Some of the things I say as my tics say some weird stuff. I won't lie about that. And we do, like, it does make me laugh, some of the things I say, and it makes everybody else laugh. I mean, the other day we were coming in from going out to the shop or something, I can't remember. And I said some really weird stuff that I'm not going to repeat. But we all just burst out laughing on the front doorstep as we were coming in. And it's good that I can laugh about my tics with my family and my friends, because it does sort of normalise it for me. It doesn't make me seem like the odd one out, and that's nice. And I find that with a lot of my other friends who do have Tourette's as well, that they enjoy people joking with them about it and laughing with them, not at them, which is nice. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think like humor can be very empowering. I mean, it can be the opposite as well. If
Yeah.
done, in very poor taste. Or I think, like some of those jokes on TV, some of those comedians that will use Tourette's as, and they will just talk about the cursing, and it has nothing to do with what Tourette's is really like. And I don't think that type of humor helps, but using humor to empower yourself and just make the whole situation a bit more light, I think. And yeah, I prefer that as well.
I mean, at my new school, I've been here for nearly 3 years now. And the teachers there are absolutely lovely about it. They joke with me about it to sort of not make me feel weird, I guess. I have got a couple of teachers who I absolutely adore them. Like, they're literally they act like my friend in a way, I guess. And it is nice. I remember there was the one time we had, because we do have supply teachers, because it's a small school, and sometimes if teachers are off on training courses, they have to bring supplies in from an agency. And I remember that once we had this supply teacher, and we were sitting in the middle of science, and we were doing something. I can't remember what it was. And I ticked out, "We're all gonna die." The atmosphere in the classroom at that point just changed. She started taking the mickey out of me, and I was like, "You're a teacher, you shouldn't be doing that." And obviously everyone in the class stood up for me, and I got really angry and everything. I just walked out the classroom to take myself out of the situation, and I went straight to the head teacher, who must have spoke to her, and she got fired from her job, which was good. She was only there for a day, which we found quite funny, because she we instinctively think when we get a supply teacher, they're aware of the environment they're coming into and what things could happen. At any minute, a kid could kick off, another kid could have a meltdown, anything could happen. I could have a tic tac, I could have a seizure or whatever. And if that happens, we expect that supply teacher to be aware of what could happen at any moment. So it's not their fault if they're triggered something, but it's just the fact that they've got to be aware of what could happen. But the fact that this teacher knew she was coming into an environment with kids and knew fully well that I had Tourette's when she started taking the mic, took it to an entirely different level and got her fired, basically. Yeah, it was quite funny, really, because we even though we'd told her so many times, she just carried on. We never got an apology off of her, but I think the fact that she was gone was just enough for me to be able to relax and know that she wasn't coming back. And I do still have the occasional supply teacher who'll be like, excuse me, can you not swear at me? And I'm like, really? I've just told you I've got Tourette's. And it's just like, it is funny to see that even though you tell them they're grown adults and they still think they can pick on someone younger than them. Obviously, there's going to be people out there who will just not get it into their head that we can't help it. Same with like people our age. At the moment, like there is people like 15, 16 that do take the mic even though you tell them because they're kids, they're going to be like that. But it's I think the one thing that upsets a lot of people is when they carry on, and that's just the worst part of it because it does get you down. I'll admit, I do have my days where I'm just like, can they just leave me alone and just not speak to me about it? I don't want to. Sometimes I just don't want to speak about my tics, and I do get angry at points. And when I'm alone, I'm just like, would you just shut up? And I do take social media breaks sometimes and just take myself away from everything because it is horrible, really. But yeah, I mean, I do have a Tourette's chat group that I'm in that me and a couple of friends made nearly 2 years ago now, actually. And the conversations we have in there aren't just based on Tourette's. We literally just speak about the most random stuff you could think of. And it's just hilarious to think.
That's
It's
great.
it's just fun because that's where I met Lotta, who you interviewed the other week.
Yeah.
And that's how I found out about your channel as well.
She's so cool.
Honestly, I know.
Yeah.
we speak all the time, not on call or anything, but we do text a lot and on the group as well. And it's just amazing to think that there is the way that you can contact people now is amazing, because when I first got diagnosed, I just thought I was the only one. And then I met like everyone else, and we've got such similar personalities. It's amazing. It's just amazing to think you can build a bond with someone that you've never actually met in person.
I think that's the whole. Like, I think the Tourette's community in general is it's just really cool. Have you been in contact with people with Tourette's in real life, like from Tourette's groups or something like that?
Yeah, there's this one person called Ashton, and we've met up once in person, and we're planning to meet up again. And he's really nice, and we over lockdown we FaceTimed like every day, and we just grew so close over that period of time. I've also gone to some Tourette's camps, so there was Tic Fest, and that was for families. And that was amazing. I made a lot of friends there actually, and I still speak to them now. And that was about 3 years ago. and then there's Teen Fest. Now, Teen Fest was absolutely hilarious. Like, it was so funny because I made friends with everybody there, and we still talk now. And that was nearly 2 years. That was just over a year ago, actually. And there's another one going on in June. Hopefully, if this corona blows over a little bit and get the lockdown restrictions get lifted a bit, I'm going to that one as well. And
Is that from Tourette's Action, the UK group?
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is, and it's really cool, like how it's all set up, and it's amazing because we have that one weekend where we can just be ourselves and tick freely without having to have a care in the world about what we say or what we do. Because when I went last time, we just sat up all night, just watching films and eating and everything. It was so fun. And we did a lot more activities like rock climbing, and it gives you that time to bond with people just like you, and it's amazing, really.
Yeah, it's nice to be around people that just get it, and where you don't have to hold anything in, but at the same time they don't just see your tics, they just see the whole person because they know the tics, and it's just so much more normal. See, what is something that you wish people understood about Tourette's in general? Just what is something they just should know?
I think the main thing I want people to know is that it's not just swearing and that we can't help it. We never wished for it. And I just wish people would stop stigmatizing it around and stereotyping it around swearing. And it's horrible. That's the one thing I wish people knew. And it's just not about swearing. There's loads of other different things related to it.
Is that also one of the reasons you started your TikTok? Give it more of a realistic view, insight on what it's like to live with Tourette?
Yeah, I do. Honestly, I'll sit there for hours and refilm videos just so I don't get my tics in some parts, because it's sort of like there is people who will only watch my videos to get the entertainment out of my tics, and I've had comments like that before, and they say, "Oh, why aren't you ticking? I'm only here to watch you tick." And I just sit there and I think, am I a laughing stock to you? Like, I'm not something to be laughed at. I'm not part of a zoo act or anything.
No, exactly.
And I mean, at the school I go to, there's a couple of other schools behind it, and they don't do as much anymore, but they'll come out and they'll just look through the windows and laugh at me when I tick. And it just gets to the point where you're like, can you not?
Not like you're in a zoo or something. That's just.
I know, it's horrible. I feel caged enough already in my own body and my own brain, let alone to be laughed at on everything, about everything and anything.
Yeah, I can also relate to the like filming videos, because on the one hand, I don't want to edit out my tics because I want it to be realistic. But when I'm trying to do something a bit more serious, I mean, especially because that's just when I start thinking or when I'm not sure what I'm saying, my tics get worse. So like my best shots are the ones with the least tics. So in the more serious videos, I'll just edit them out just to make it flow better. And then in more just fun videos, I'll kind of leave them in. But it's such a weird thing to edit yourself, even though it's just how it is. But of course, on screen, it'll come across different. So it's a weird thing to have to think about, I guess, because people will have an opinion about it. I mean, sadly enough, people that I honestly I don't understand why people would go to like anyone online with any type of disability or disorder and be like, you're faking it, or like, don't you have anything better to do? I find it such a weird hobby to have.
I know, it's like I was on about like the TikTok comments. Like, what's the point in taking minutes out of your day, just hours even? Because they'll go through my videos and just comment on every one that I haven't ticked, and I'm like, do you not have anything better to do? Like, if you want to comment, then comment, because I must be worthy enough to be appreciated that much that you'll go through individually and comment on every single one.
It's dedication. That's something, but
Yeah.
I don't know. And I just always assume that those people are very young and that they're just, I don't know. I hope they are, because if they're like grown adults, like my age, it's a bit weird, a bit sad. I hope it's not true. And I mean, yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I refuse to feel, I don't know, influenced by someone who would do that. I honestly don't understand why that'd be a thing. People.
Yeah.
The internet is a weird place.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, most of the people who comment on my videos, some are like 9 or 10. I'm like, okay, just shut up, you're immature. And then you get like the 16 to like God knows how old commenting on, like, you're nearly an adult, or you are an adult if you're like older than 18, and you're still commenting on my videos. Like, you've got to have nothing better to do with your life if you're going to do that.
But you're putting yourself out there, and there are people that are hiding in by being anonymous and by just honestly not having their priorities set straight. Because people will think what they think, and I mean, sure, whatever. That's just human nature, I think. But to go out of your way to attack someone who is just trying to do something positive, or even just being creative. I mean, we went off on a bit of a tangent on the status of social media.
Yeah.
Oh wow! So I think, like, do you have any final thoughts? Anything that you really want to share? Something people should know? Anything?
I think to anyone watching the video, never let anyone bring you down, really. Like, never let anyone hurt you. And if they do hurt you, try not to show it, because that's one mistake I made when I was in mainstream school. I'd always give them a reaction, whether it be in person or online, and I'd always retaliate. And as much as it might hurt you, never show that. If you're going to show it, don't do it in front of them. Go home, and as horrible as it sounds, go home and cry about it to your parents, or in your room on your own. Stick some music on and just let it all out. Don't do it in front of that person who is targeting you and being horrible to you, because if you do show that weakness, I guess, of emotion, it sort of gives them fuel, and that's what they get off on. They see it as empowering. They think, oh, she or he or they're gonna get off of they're gonna give me that reaction every time I do it, and that gives them fuel, and it gives them that power to do it more and more and more, until it leads to a point of you just giving up entirely and not wanting to see them anymore, and you're emotionally drained. So that's my one bit of advice: never let it get to you in front of them. As much as you might want to cry, just don't do it then and there. Go off and do it somewhere else, even if it's in public and somewhere like at school. If someone at school says something, go out of that, take yourself out of the situation, go to a toilet or a classroom and just cry about it in there. call someone if you can, just rant to someone else about it, but never do it in front of that person.
Wow. I mean, I haven't, I know I'm very old, but now I feel very old for saying this, but I remember being your age. This is such a but yeah, and I know what that's like, but I also know that luckily that children are mean, and that stuff, that just that teenage drama and having to handle that and having to navigate that, it does get better. And at some point people just don't care anymore because they have their their job, and they get really busy and they honestly don't care as much anymore. And then everything does calm down. But I understand, especially in school and with how people are, that's scary, and it's hard, and it takes a lot of time and energy and courage to learn how to cope and deal with that and stay strong and still keep going. So I think you're really cool. You're doing quite well. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Abby, for being a part of this. Again, if anyone who's watching this wants to be a part of this series, either someone who has Tourette's or someone who has some relation to someone with Tourette's, a parent, a sibling, a teacher, I'd love to talk to you. So send me an email. The details are in the description box below. I'd love to meet you all. This is so much fun, just meeting so many people. I'm really enjoying this, and I hope you are too. So let me know, and I'll see you next week. Okay, bye.